Because what we're trying to help people understand is they need to look at the whole being the project. Yes, you have the opportunity to improve the profitability of your own organization, but only by first addressing the whole, your customers' needs.
Welcome to New Construction Strategies with Ted Garrison.
Welcome back to the program, Ed. Have you ever been asked by a non-construction person, how do you live with the chaos on a construction site? I know I have. The problem is that we tend to laugh it off because we are so used to the chaos we think it's normal. However, the truth is that many construction processes are truly chaotic, but it doesn't have to be. More important, it shouldn't be because it costs productivity and profitability. Our guest today, Ed Anderson, CEO of Lean Implementation Services of Florida, has one solution to reducing the chaos and improving profitability. Ed, with all that said, why does it appear everyone is running around the project in total chaos?
That's an excellent question. To outsiders, it may look like chaos, but to most of the insiders, it does not, because they have not learned to see the waste in their systems. In talking with over 600 construction folks the past 9 years, they have convinced me that the number one waste is what I call chase-up. Everybody knows what that is, but everybody thinks it's a virtue. When I ask these same people how much time they spend chasing or being chased to see if commitments are being made, they tell me they spend an astounding 50 to 90% of their time in this activity. For your listeners who find this incredible, I challenge them to reflect on every email they send, every telephone or radio conversation they have, and every trip they make to the field to see if commitments are being honored.
So, okay, we're running around like crazy and we're doing all these crazy things. What can we do about it?
Well, it's called the last planner, and it's something many refer to as pull planning. And we can thank the Lean Construction Institute for this great process. In general, it does three things for us. First, we can now objectively measure the reliability of people to make and keep commitments. The Lean Construction Institute calls this PPC, percent planned complete. I prefer to call the measurement CRI, Commitment Reliability Index. Percent planned complete is not personal, whereas Commitment Reliability Index is very personal, and that's the reason I use that index. Second, the process shows us how to plan our work effectively in order to make better commitments. The key being that the last planners, or foremen in the case of construction, must co-create the plans. This answers the age-old question of, how do I get the trades to buy into the plan? Third, there is daily learning from failures to make and keep commitments. Greg Howell says it best, we want to make new mistakes next week.
What it sounds like you're talking about is, reliability. How do we make people reliable? There's this skepticism, by owners on contractors, I have to look over everybody's shoulders. I spend all my time on. I'm a general contractor, I got to watch the subs, and with the subs, I got to look over the worker's shoulder to make sure they're doing their job. How do we get out of this cycle and rely on people and get the work done?
Well, it actually comes by measuring reliability, and the way we do that through the last planner is you ask the foreman, and this is not just a foreman, but a group of foremen in a team, and you say, okay, what are you going to do this week? And let's say that they tell you that they're going to do 10 things. The next week when you meet with them, you say, okay, of the 10 things that you said you were going to do, how many of them did you do? And let's say they did 6 of the 10. Then their reliability or their commitment reliability index for the past week is 60%. So it's a black and white measure of reliability. They get it immediately. Okay?
One of the troubles, I guess, is that, we often reward superintendents who manage to work around problems, but in essence, that creates another problem because they're not really fixing the problem. How do you, deal with that? In other words, let's just not ignore the problem and do something else and we'll get around it, but how do we solve the problem so it doesn't keep occurring?
Well, that's why I do the little, what I call the chase-up syndrome conversation with those folks. I ask them, how much time do you spend making or keeping, or how much time do you spend chasing other folks to see if they're making commitments, and how much time do you spend being chased? And when they start to tell me that it's 50 to 90%, all of a sudden a light goes off over their head. You can almost see it going off. They're astounded that they're spending this much time chasing and being chased And they recognize very quickly that it's not a good thing. It's not a virtue to chase that much.
You know, it's interesting. You use chase up, and it has kind of a little bit of a negative connotation that I'm wasting time. You know, we often see people put, you know, a little bit better spin on it, and they go, well, I'm just following up, I'm inspecting the work, or I'm expediting the work, and they're really hiding the problem.
Well, I mean, there's a certain level of chase up or expediting or inspecting. You know, one of my old mentors said, don't expect, inspect. But there's a certain level of that is required. It's called external discipline. But when you begin to spend 50, 60, or 90% of your time chasing or inspecting other folks, something is wrong, and people realize that very quickly.
You know, one of the things that I've had superintendents complain to me about is they're often forced to take the lowest price subcontractor, even though they aren't the most reliable. How can the superintendent deal with this issue?
Quite simply, I say you implement the last planner process. When they do, they will reduce the amount of time they and others spend in the act of chase-up. Okay? This will then allow them to do what they actually get paid for, such as thinking of better ways to be more productive, safe, and reliable. And I often say don't be dissuaded by those folks who say, well, we tried that, but since everyone didn't want to play, it didn't work. My response is, tell me how removing waste from your system so that you can be more profitable has anything to do with what others do.
If you mentioned a couple times the term last planner. You know, everybody else has had this experience. Everybody keeps coming up with the fad of the month. Well, here's another thing. Is it going to work? Or are we going to do something else different? Why is the last planner really different than all that?
The way I see it is that the last planner demystifies much of what we in the construction and project management business have been told is good planning. You look at software programs like Primavera and MS Project, just to name a few, and they contain all of the jargon that is not very useful to actually creating and making a plan. The first thing that the last planner does is to show you how to break the plan down into manageable chunks. I mean, you would not go out on a construction field and say, okay, let's build this whole thing today. I mean, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. Well, the plan to build Rome wasn't created in a day either. Yet this is what we find when we go into many organizations. Their plans to create a hospital or a hotel or whatever are humongous databases of 10,000 or 20,000 tasks. Well, that's not only impossible to manage, but you know it's not right. Everybody knows it's not right, but they feel compelled to put the detail in. They let the plan, in this case, or the details of the plan, drive the project instead of the people driving the project.
Do you have any kind of statistics that indicate how much improvement a contractor can experience if he implements the last planner?
Yeah, there's many case studies that will help folks do this. The Lean Construction Institute has many of these, but I personally have several myself. These come from real people doing real projects. Typically, it's not how much an individual organization can save and be more productive, because what we're trying to help people understand is they need to look at the whole, okay? The whole being the project. So we say things like, yes, you have the opportunity to improve the profitability of your own organization, but only by first addressing the whole, your customers' needs. Once you do that, then you will find all kinds of opportunities to improve your profitability along the way.
And this has been very enlightening. However, we're almost out of time. So what final thoughts would you like to leave with our listeners?
Well, some level, as I said, some level of chase-up is required. And like I said, it's called external discipline. But when people realize that they're spending 50, 60, even 90% of their time doing this, they wake up very quickly and say, we need a better way to manage our work as opposed to spending all of this time chasing or being chased. So my suggestion is that by measuring reliability through the implementation of the last planner, they will be able to reduce chase-up as many have already done.
Ed, I want to thank you for helping us bring some order to our normal chaotic construction project. Thanks, Ed.
This program is produced by Jack Street Media as part of the Affiliate Nanocasting Network. Thanks for listening.